Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of Crypto Art Week. I am your host, Lady Phoenix, joined by Coldy, Mike from Slime Sunday, and Justin Blau. We have, say, we have a really fun show for you today. Super excited about our guests, and yeah, let's take it away, guys. Coldy's going to post a link right now to Twitter, so everyone that's been DMing and emailing asking about links for the conference, you can always find them in our Twitter. You can go to at Crypto Art Advisor and find it. You can go to at Coldy and find it, at Slime Sunday, or at 3Lau. Blau. Ready to rock?
Yeah, let's do this.
Right on. Welcome, Mike. Welcome, Justin. I'm excited for you guys' drop. Let's just say that first and foremost, right off the top, you have a drop with Makers, which is really exciting. How many drops have you guys done together now?
Oh man, is this 5? I mean, we've had Mike's done a couple on his own. I did one on my own, but SSX Blau collectively, I think this is number, let's see, we did 2 Nifty, 1 Block Party, 1 Super Rare.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Number 5 for SSX Blau.
Wow, awesome, awesome. And how did you guys meet?
I've been doing work for Justin for, I think, going on like 5 years now. So, and he's always been awesome to work for. And it was kind of just organic that we moved into a collaborative effort together on the blockchain. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found Mike on Instagram. I was a huge fan of his work, and we were kind of rebranding Blau with the launch of my album. And I wanted an art director to kind of take over and really help guide my brand. And I just trusted Mike from day one. And I think we've worked together now for 5 years. We never disagree on anything, and that makes it really easy. And we have that kind of creative chemistry.
Well, that's really good. That's really good. Never any small beef?
Not really, honestly. Everything's super smooth. Like we barely ever disagree ever. Maybe, wow. I mean, we'll agree that some things didn't come out right, but that's just us agreeing. Like, we'll be like, yeah, this one didn't work, man, but it was worth a shot or something like that.
And what do you think that kind of like secret sauce or magic to that is? Because there's a lot of people who make great work together, but they're constantly at each other's throats on creative decisions or even probably simple things like, no, I'd rather Coke than Pepsi, right? So how do you guys keep the creative synergy going with such harmony?
I think that it's because we both kind of let each other, whenever we go too far, like sometimes I'll think of something for a song and I'll be like, Mike, you think I should do this? And Mike will be like, no, dude, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And Mike will get, caught up on something visually and I'll be like, nah, dude, it looks great. And it's nice to have each other check, we're both perfectionists in our own way, me on the audio side and Mike on the visual side. So it's kind of nice to work with each other to kind of know when things are finished, and so it's like we can really check each other. But we do, the nice thing is that we also both let each other kind of do our own thing. And when it comes to music, like I'll make a lot of beats and Mike will pick his favorites and create to the music. And that's kind of the beauty of it when you have, 2-dimensional pieces, is it's each piece inspires the other.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love that.
So just so everybody knows, as we're doing this, we're also going to be simulcasting into Crypto Voxels. And I put that link in there. And do
you want to teleport in there?
Yeah, we can teleport in there now.
Yeah.
And, just so we can keep talking, but the visuals, you don't have to see my face. You can see something a little bit more interesting. Let me get this up.
And if you want to drop that link in our chat, maybe
yeah, sure.
Want to tweet it out too?
I retweeted you, Coldy, as well.
Oh, perfect.
Cool. Oh, I'm gonna do that right now.
I tagged both of you, so if you're in Twitter, or I can drop it in the chat.
Okay, sweet. Got it.
Cool. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
So this piece is called Traffic. Is this the first piece that you guys collaborated on after, like for this Makers? Is this the very first piece, or was this sort of like number 3 in the works?
I would say this was the first one, right? Yeah, we had this first, but we kind of made Is that right, Justin? Or did I make something else? Oh, we made something else, and we didn't end up want to use it for SSX Blau. We're going to use it for something else.
And how do you
Yeah.
guys decide beyond like the music? How do you like decide? Is it like, you know, esoteric conversations you're having? Is it, you know, something you saw on TV? How do you like, who conceptually comes up with what you guys will work on next? Or is it a joint?
So with one, this is a great example. This piece in particular is a great example of how Mike and I really are a great team. Mike started out with, you know, he basically built this street landscape with all those traffic lights from scratch. And in the center was a white cube. But what I noticed, one of the things that I noticed is, you know, the traffic lights were really cool. And so I thought to call the piece traffic and then to have the cube skeletized and changing color on the beat. And so how like Mike's obviously the visual genius, and then I'll come up with like a musical application to the piece. And then Mike actually picked the song that he wanted to use that kind of conveyed this idea of traffic. This piece was kind of inspired by ETH traffic that, you know, as we all know, gas prices have been kind of crazy. We always like some crypto input of inspiration to our work. And so, yeah, that's kind of the inspiration behind this piece. Started out as Mike's idea. Mike found a song that he liked. We kind of crafted the piece around the song, and here it is. And this will be actually this will be one of one for auction that's up tomorrow on Makers. And what's really cool about this piece is I actually think it's one. I think Mike spent more time on this piece than most of the other ones we've done. It's definitely, he put a lot of effort into this. So just really excited for people to see it.
Yeah, it's beautiful work. Nice job all the way around.
You guys want to do a proper play? I played it, but I can't hear both because I'm blasting the music. So you guys want to do a full run through and watch it?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, let's hear it. I'll mute the mics and we can get going.
Okay. Whoa. That was super awesome. I really love that whole loop. I can imagine getting lost in that.
I couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear it?
No.
Oh man, I blasted out my neighbors. I'm not sure why. That's interesting. It worked before, right?
Yeah, it was working in the beginning, and then
You guys couldn't hear it either?
we heard just a little bit.
Might have been too loud. I don't know that it got, but it's not a big deal. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, it's still really fresh. I mean, it's a really fresh visual. And how about this one next to it? On this side. Yeah. Tell us about this piece.
That was our first super airdrop right there.
And Mike, as you're creating these, what's your favorite program to create in, like for traffic and for this one?
Mostly Cinema 4D, and then Octane render engine is what we use for all these 3D pieces. Yeah, I've been playing around with like a lot of software just specifically for SSX Blau and to kind of elevate the visuals. So yeah, nice. We've been messing around with like Touch Designer.
I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's just like a beast of its own. It's like really complex to kind of wrap your head around and use. So I'm still in kind of the infancy of understanding it, but we hope that in the future we'll be doing a lot more stuff in the physical world. So more like art installations and maybe some audio reactive visuals.
That would
So
be
yeah,
sick.
we definitely want to bring these to the physical world.
Speaking of doing stuff more in the real world, Justin, what do you think the future of like concerts and touring would be? Do you think that we're going to find that people are going to get used to doing things in the metaverse, you know, in VR? Or do you think that we'll actually be able to have that synergy of live shows?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I right now there's really no end in sight for when things will be postponed. But I will say, one of the things that we've been experimenting with, especially with this drop, and anyone who participates in the Makers Drop will actually get a ticket to a live, basically unreleased music listening party in Decentraland specifically. So if you participate in the drop, you get this free ticket to hear a bunch of my unreleased music before it's out. And we've done a bunch of streams in the past couple months, since COVID started, but it's just not the same as an in-person experience. So I do think that like a metaverse experience is way cooler than just watching a DJ on stream. And I do think that as the technology develops and as more people start exploring metaverses, I actually think that virtual concerts are way more interesting than just like a YouTube streamed concert. So, I definitely think it'll happen. And as things continue to be postponed, people will feel more and more pressure to start messing around in virtual spaces, which I think we're all excited for.
Would you ever become a virtual DJ, like a little Michaela type, like
Yeah.
virtual person?
I'm actually really close with Trevor, who's little Michaela's Trevor's brainchild, and
Right.
I love him. I love what they're doing. I definitely think that we'll do some collaborative stuff in the future. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I asked because he's a DJ, and that's kind of how he like began, from what I understand. And so, just curious to see what him and like other folks who are in the music space will do to sort of like bring people closer to that live aspect of the music outside of just watching folks on YouTube or something like that. It could be fun to have your own avatar out there doing shows for you in Decentraland and such.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that that'll be the future for sure.
Are you guys into? Have you guys researched, or are you into the social tokens? Like, would you have a SSX Lao social token?
So, my feeling about social tokens is that so I have a little bit of experience on the legal securities side of distributed ledger tech, and I do feel that at this point in time, a lot of social tokens are probably securities, even though I don't think there's too much penalty, because most of the people that are issuing social tokens are not like doing so in a way to attract the SEC's attention. But from a careful legal perspective, I still think that there's a lot more to go with social tokens before I would feel comfortable issuing one. That being said, I do think that the next couple of years we'll see a lot of regulatory improvement and clarity, at which point I really believe in social tokens, right? It's just more of a regulatory concern in the short term.
Gotcha.
And I'm on that same tip. I think there's a lot of people who actually there's a lot of innovative uses that some people are doing with social tokens where they're someone got all their social tokens and burned them all. Like there's ways to like I think use them in ways where you're not deriving, say if you're an artist and you start doing well and your social token goes up in value, then people can redeem that for more stuff. That's what you're kind of saying is the security dividend side of it, right?
Yeah. So I'm quite excited about security tokens that represent art that has royalty payments. Like imagine owning equity in someone's music and then actually receiving the cash flows associated with that song. I think that's really exciting. It's definitely there's a higher barrier to entry because you need to have a pretty good legal team to execute a strategy like that. But it's something that I've been exploring and I'm really excited about. I think the issue with social tokens is just that they claim to be utilities, but until there is like significant utility, the argument could be made that it could be purely a security. So it's a little bit tricky. But I do think that there are a lot of people out there who are super, super excited about the future of social tokens, myself included. I think that once the securities issues are cleared up, there's a lot of potential there.
So show us, talk to us about this piece, Mike. I think it's a pretty epic piece. I'm really into
Yeah, this was for Nifty Gateway when I did my drop with them as Slime Sunday. So far I've done a couple super rare and then Nifty Gateway, which was kind of the bigger one. But yeah, I'm new to like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and you know the whole space. So I don't have a huge knowledge base of it, but I'm trying to learn more. And this was just kind of my interpretation of it with as much knowledge that I have as of now, you know?
Yeah.
But I did want to like take these old images and kind of repurpose them for current times and kind of what's going on now.
It certainly feels like that, right? Like you've captured it. You've really captured what's going on out there, the battle between fiat and crypto, at least in people's minds, what they think it is and how we feel that we'll sort of have more sovereignty and freedoms if we're able to control our own financial destinies with these coins. What do you think when you see this, Coldy?
I mean, I just love the layering and the depth of it. You know, you get the initial impact, but I love how there's little touches put throughout. And, you know, each time I look at it, I'm catching more nuances. And I love the classical, obviously the painting reference, and then bringing that into the modern. But, you know, I didn't notice, you know, little stacks of Bitcoin on the right side underneath the person with the bull or the ox. And it's just beautiful.
I like art like that where you have to kind of look multiple times to see everything.
Like Where's Waldo?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what gives it that lasting value, because there's so many times where, you know, you'll see a piece of art and you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's just like it's like a one night stand. You're like, oh, okay, but then you know. But then, you know, if you can keep coming back on it, then I guess it would become like a relationship with a piece of art where you can kind of like go into deeper meanings and, you know, you could stand looking at it for the rest of your life. So maybe that one night stand is a great analogy.
Absolutely. I like that.
So yeah, I think it's beautiful. And the color palette, I'm all about color. So, you know, as I'm looking at this, the richer colors are pulling you into that center spot. And, you know, in the background, it feels nice. But then you actually start looking at that more later. You're like, whoa, I was so hooked on these colors in the hot spots. That's like, what's going on back there on the castle? You know, there's very well executed. Nice job. Now I need one. I'm going to run over to Gift Nifty and try to find one.
I'm sure there'll be some up there still.
Oh, it's an open edition, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it was an open edition. I think people are still selling them. So
Okay. All right.
What's your preferred way to offer your work? Is it the open edition? Is it the one of ones? Is it the Coldy method auction? Like, how do you?
It's different for SSX Blau. We have a different way of setting up the way we sell our art as compared to Slime Sunday. So, I mean, for Slime Sunday, it's definitely like more kind of like I want to get more people involved in buying it, and because I have a large fan base, so if I could get them to come over and start purchasing stuff, that would be awesome. So I'm cool with doing these open editions, but yeah, I mean, SSX Blau is kind of more exclusive because there's two of us, and we're both have our own talents, and we're bringing kind of more to the table. So I think
we also put an enormous amount of time into our SSX Blau works, and that's not to say you obviously put a lot of time into the Slime Sunday stuff as well. But I think between we probably spend probably over 200 hours per piece, at least for the SSX Blau stuff. So
that's incredible. Do you guys kind of just always have stuff in the works and in the wings that you've workshopping? Like 200 hours per piece. I'm looking at the artwork differently now. I feel like I want Coldy to go back to traffic We need to play it about 4 more times.
Yeah, I mean,
it does change. It does change. I'm so happy to hear this. It really does change the perspective, right? Sorry, not to cut you off, but just to interject, Mike, like when you see a lot of 3D artists on Instagram, and they're just, you know, that's a tutorial that they copied and put it up, and it took them like an hour to do it, you know? And not to shade anyone, like everybody do their thing. There's no shade. But then when we hear that you guys have actually put 200 hours, was that hyperbole or like that's for real?
No,
we're dead serious.
That's amazing.
It's at
that's
least
amazing. Not even including like render time. Like that's amazing. Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean the Slime Sunday stuff, probably the most I'll spend on something is 5 or 6 hours. But
okay,
yeah,
wow.
these are a lot. We're putting a lot more work into these. So I mean, definitely makes sense that we would be making them more exclusive.
Totally. Wow. Amazing.
The music alone, like each song, in any of the animated pieces, takes me at least 5 days.
Wow.
Of like, at least. That's like, that would be like just getting the idea together, and then the editing process is probably another 5 days. And when I say 5 days, I mean, you know, a lot of these songs will take months to finish, but 5 days of like 24 hours of work. So it's like, you know, sometimes a beat will take months, sometimes it'll take a couple months, but it usually never takes weeks. So some of these pieces, some of the music in the pieces is stuff that I've made in the past. Some of it's new. It's like half and half. But we basically made a folder when we started working together, and Mike's able to go through like this folder of previous ideas to see if a song fits his vision. And that's how we've done a lot of our pieces. But then sometimes, like with our last Nifty drop, Mike will animate the piece to like be extremely audio reactive. So it's completely dependent upon the song. We've kind of done it both ways, where a piece is super audio reactive, and then another way, which more specifically for this Makers drop, the pieces can kind of live on their own without the audio. If you wanted to have them on silent, they'd still make sense. And that's kind of where we've explored both. You know, some people really enjoy a piece that can just be put up on the wall and loop and look great, and then other people really enjoy the added dimension of the audio. So yeah, for our Makers drop, it's kind of a little bit of both.
I love that. Do you have a player in your home where you're playing these collaborative works?
I'm like, I want to get a frame super soon because I'm starting to like collect myself and buy other people's art. So I'm gonna have like displays very soon.
Do you have a preferred display?
I don't. I would like some recommendations.
I heard Samsung's pretty good.
Yeah.
I have 2 Samsungs in my house. It's great.
There you go. And I'm curious, Mike and Justin, what sorts of professional experiences or maybe personal experiences did you have to face, and like challenges you had to get over to get to the point where you know what the working relationship feels like when it's good and it's successful and you need to hold on to it? Like what kind of L's did you have to take and challenges that you have to overcome to get to this point?
Mostly trial and error. Like you work with enough people over your career that you can, especially for something as collaborative as this, like you learn quickly like who you are kind of on the same creative wavelength as. So, I mean, it's just what me and Justin do is very easy because we get along so well. But I mean, I've had instances where I've done freelance work, you know, and it just doesn't work. Like the whole process is a mess. Like from the beginning, like I don't know why these people even hit me up. It's just like, so you gotta be kind of, you gotta agree on things easily.
One of the things that's been really nice about the SSX Blau stuff, and Mike will tell you this, is that it's given him an opportunity to say no to a lot of freelance work because it's super, you know, frustrating. And this is like, as an alternative artistic outlet, has been awesome for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like, I'll be honest, like as a freelancer, you don't make tons and tons of money. Like you kind of just scrape by a little bit. And ever since kind of coming in here, like it's a whole different world where you're like, finally people are actually appreciating your artwork and collecting it. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I
What
think
was, go ahead, Colby.
I mean, I just to reiterate on that, I mean, I was in the same boat. You know, I was a full-time freelancer for, you know, close to a decade. And, you know, while that's nice when it's a feast, that famine is pretty tough. And being able to at least augment that with, you know, having crypto art and these types of projects helps to kind of like bridge that, even if you are still, you know, doing quote unquote commercial work or things like freelance. So yeah, I totally feel you, and it's been a blessing to have this community that is like wanting it. Like they're just they want to see what we're coming up with next. It's not like you don't have to really knock on doors. The doors are open, and we just have to walk through them. And you know, it's hats off also to the collectors. You know, the early collectors and the new ones, and you know, it's the space is growing so fast that, you know, it gives people such a runway to really let their freak flag fly. Like just be yourself, and you don't have to pander to anybody anymore. It's rad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Cody, and we're both fans of your stuff. I mean, when we started making stuff, we looked at your stuff and Trevor's stuff.
Oh man, thanks.
And we were all, you know, Mike and I were inspired by the stuff that you guys were all doing. And yeah, it's really cool to have such talent in at the beginning. And, you know, I'm sure that all of us will grow together as the space grows. I mean, it's growing so fast and it's really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, like when I came into crypto art, it was about 2.5 years ago. And I will tell you that it was like, it wasn't even the Wild West. It was like the prospector walking over the hill to see if there was anything over there, you know, and like, and I'll tell you, I went to a couple places where I thought I had struck, but you know, the mine went dry, and that meant the platform went down. You know, it was, you know, when I started, we were on ERC20 tokens, and that's all we knew. So, you know, I started putting out some good work, and, you know, come to find out that was like archaic and not, you know, able to move into the future. So then you're like, oh, wow, like you have to be super agile and also, you know, be able to be a guinea pig and go with the flow, you know, like, and we're still going with the flow.
Oh, yeah.
Are 721's a solution? I don't know, but I'm here now. And I think for me, it makes it more of a, not a challenge, but it's like something where it's like, it takes a lot to produce high quality work for a very long time. And especially in crypto, because it moves so quickly. Like before crypto, I was working with canvases and like 3D lenticular prints. And these things would take me, you know, like you guys are talking about, months to just handle one canvas. Well, in NFTs, like, you know, I produced freaking, I think 100 works in 2 years on super rare, which is just asinine.
You've done 100? Wow.
What's that? Yeah, I've done 100.
That's a lot, dude. That's epic.
Yeah, but at the same time, I was throttling myself at a certain point, because you get into this loop where you're like, oh my gosh, what can I do next? What can I do next? But then it's scarcity versus abundance conversations. And I'm also, with as many as that is, I'm one of the more scarce tokenizers on super rare. Like I have a very low average of production, and that's with doing 100 in 2 years. You know, it's
yeah. That's still, that's only like 50 a year, which isn't that, not that much. But when you think the amount of time that you probably put into 100 works, that's all. You probably spent a lot of time on that, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it's like the same thing you guys are talking about, you know, and you're adding music on top of it, and you guys totally get it. So it's this weird ebb and flow of how do I stay, you know, productive and keep moving, but also not flood my token count, and you know, the strategy behind it starts to take in. So it's I think for a lot of people coming into the space, there's a different type of learning curve than your traditional artist. You know, when you make a print or something, you might print, you know, 50 or 100 screen prints, but you know, doing that in cryptos could be like tokenizing suicide. So it's just, you know, there's a lot to consider.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I would say just like only be releasing your best work, especially
Yeah.
in this space. Like, don't rush to put anything out, you know?
Yeah, we've scrapped stuff that we didn't like. There were at least like 5 to 10 ideas that we just weren't 100% on, and that's part of it. You know, like we try things. It's new. It's a new space. We try ideas, and especially on the music side. I mean, there are a lot of songs that I might make that we never use.
Yeah.
And I think a big part, and Coldy, you would probably agree with this, a big part of being an artist isn't just what you do today. It's all the time you spent learning the skills that you use to make pieces in the future. So one of the things that Mike and I have talked about is like, we've been doing this, you know, Mike's been designing for probably over a decade. I've been making music for 15 years, but professionally for 10. And I'm about to be 30 in a month, which is kind of crazy. But after a decade of doing it, you know, you learn so much, and we apply all the knowledge that we learned over the past 10 years or so to the work that we release now. And so when people are buying a piece, they're not just buying like the time that we put in to that one piece. They're buying all the experiences that took us to where we are, that influenced the work that we create today. And, you know, I don't think that what we would do today could be even close to what it is if we didn't have, you know, that time under our belt, you know, the same way you do, Coldy. You said you've been freelancing for, you know, over a decade. And yeah, it's really cool that collectors really perceive that and see that in our work, you know, versus, it's no offense, but, you know, versus like memes on Rarible, right? You know, there's a big difference. And it's really cool that people perceive that and value that.
Yeah. And kind of to reiterate back on that is, in a sense, when I was starting, you know, doing design, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I was creating memes on Rarible, right? And because that's where, and that's no shade on anything, right? But it's like, if you're looking at,
Right.
you know, where my progression was at, I think I get a lot of people hitting me up saying, hey, I'm new to the scene. I'm having a hard time. I haven't sold anything yet. Like, do you have any tips? I was like, well, you know, do your best work. And just so you know, like, look at the stuff that I was selling 2.5 years ago. I was probably selling it for less than you're selling it for now. Like, it takes a lot of time, and art is a long game. It's not a cash in. I mean, I guess you could cash in, but to me, the longevity of the art, it means you almost have to, quote unquote, pay your dues and put out great work and get that collector's trust. And they know after you put out 100 pieces. I'm a big Pearl Jam fan, and there's a documentary they did back in the late 90s about one of their albums, and Eddie Vedder said you have to make he had to make 100 songs before he even knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I really took that to heart. You know, it's like, when you take that to art, I basically am just figuring out what I'm doing on Superman, right? After 100 pieces. And it's true, because it's taken me some hits and some misses. And now, after that combined amount of knowledge set, I can make more calculated decisions to set myself up for success. You know, and will I succeed every time? Absolutely not. But I think that the percentages start to increase once you have failed enough times to know what part of that to cut out.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely released over, you know, 6,000 different images, or created over 6,000 different images. And I mean, on my Instagram, I've deleted about 90% of them, but there's still over, I think, upwards of 2,000 on there. So, I mean, I would say, like, you got to be doing this for a while to, like you said, know what you're doing, or know the type of art you want to create. Like, at the beginning, like, I had no idea what I was doing. Just kind of messing around and experimenting. And then over the years, you start to develop a style. And yeah, you know, like, it takes a while to find the type of art that you want to create, for sure.
And at the same time, I mean, the thing about tokenizing artwork is, you know, there's permanence in that. But I'll be equally as honest. There's been pieces that I've made that at the time I was like, yeah, this is cool, I'm going to mint it. Then I burn the thing. I'll look at it for a week or two, and I'll be like, God, is that really what I want someone in their collection to be a Coldy piece? And if the answer is no, even if it took me 200 hours to make it, I have to have that amount of, you know, ego you know, in the other sense, to say I don't want that out there, and to actually scrap it, because I think that is what the collectors only want your best, and I think they actually would appreciate that if even after the fact, if it was on the market and you're like, nah, not down with it anymore, it's gone. I think it's yeah, our name is everything, our work is everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's super interesting to, I mean, I had no idea the depth of your guys' collaboration, where Mike, you were going and seeking and having the decision making also of what music to use in the visual. That's super fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think we originally had a different track for Traffic. And then after watching the visual again, I think we both kind of agreed that the track that we end up choosing kind of fit it more. Right, Justin? Or
yeah. Picking audio, I like to put it up to Mike, because, you know, Mike's the one who is creating the visual, and so I like to just kind of give him as much flexibility with picking the audio as possible. One of the things that worked out really well for the Greenwood piece is it was a song that I made 4 years ago and never did anything with it because it wasn't really in my style. But Mike had heard it in the folder and like picked it out of the mix, and he was like, "Yo, we have to use this for something." And then when he made Greenwood, we were like, "Wow, what song of mine makes you feel like you're in the middle of the forest?" And it was there, and we knew it would fit perfectly. And that's how that came together. And then with Traffic, you know, we wanted to pick a song that felt like Traffic, and it was a song that I made more recently called Arc. And you know, at that point, Mike picked it. He was like, "Yo, I think this would be sick." And I have to, like, you know, I just basically edited it up and cut it perfectly for the mix of the visual. Sometimes, like, we cut out the intro. I have to like move parts of the song around so that it fits the theme and the progression of the visual. But that's, you know, that's been the process for, you know, how we pick audio and match it with visuals. It's really collaborative from both of us.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to just put these walls together quickly so that people can see kind of the progression and how long it took me to get where I am today. So obviously, like, these were my first 2 artworks that I ever created and posted like publicly, and then kind of just got obsessed with it. I mean, I have been creating for a long period of time, but I created Slime Sunday so I could release stuff anonymously. So yeah, these were my first 2 kind of anonymous pieces, and you can see that. And I was doing this all on my cell phone, kind of when Instagram just started. And there was a lot of other people who were doing the same thing, making like all these cell phone edits and kind of quickly posting them to social media websites. So yeah, that's where it started. Where it was those 2 images.
And do you keep these like somewhere tucked away on a,
Yeah, I still have all of them. It's good to look back, especially to see kind of how far you've come.
Yeah.
And then obviously you can see kind of with these ones, they're not really anything special. This is still just kind of like trying to figure out what kind of art am I gonna create? So yeah, this is just kind of like like when you're kind of exploring, trying to figure out the type of art you're creating. It just requires a lot of like experimentation, for sure.
What did you feel when you were putting all of this together for today's presentation, especially the first 2? Because I remember those early Instagram days when people were hashtagging iPhone only and everything was about the apps at the time, right? On your phone and what you could do. You know?
It was kind of weird. I mean, you said you'd been following me since 2014, right?
Yeah, I actually have a piece. There's a piece that you have. I think it's on the other side of the wall. I remember when you first posted that, and I thought, this guy is fucking amazing. And I
so crazy.
I love that.
I posted it on my Instagram. It's one of my favorite pieces by you, straight up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had no idea until I taled to her the other day, and she's like, "Yeah, I've been following you for a long time." She's like an OG follower, dude. Isn't that wild?
Dude,
I like me crazy. With the 3D guys. Like I've been following all the 3D guys in the space for a really long time. I used to curate for really big accounts, like the way people have ghostwriters, you know, in industry. I was a ghost curator for a lot of the very big accounts on Instagram, and would find people making these, like the 3D guys making this wild stuff. And at the time that I was posting it, 3D wasn't a thing. It was still all about photographs and, you know, like Photoshop. 3D guys, 3D like softwares, it really, people thought it was weird. It just wasn't that popular, but I thought it was rad, and I kept posting it and kept posting it. And then, you know, eventually stuff catches on. But yeah, there's a piece right on the other side. I remember when you made it, because I was like, what is this guy going to do next? He found it. He found his thing, you know?
This
is his
you never find you're always kind of moving through different styles, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's some 3D stuff on this wall, like it's hard to, like the third one in to the right with the white background, like that's 3D. So I mean, during this period, you're kind of just experimenting with all the software, and over time, like this is all good kind of knowledge base to have, you know. So kind of when later on in life, you can kind of bring back your knowledge to when you were messing around in 3D and kind of recreate artworks that way, you know. So now it's like when doing SSX blouse stuff, I have kind of this knowledge base from the past that I can pull from. So I'd say it's, you know, it's definitely good to experiment, try to figure out what type of art you want to make, but don't limit yourself, you know.
Do you remember the types of music you were listening to at this time when you were making this?
Definitely top left was Tycho, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I see that.
Because you were already priming yourself to be in partnership with Justin, probably.
Yeah, but I listen to a lot of electronic music, so obviously Blau's involved in that. And I mean, I've loved Blau's music since day one, so for sure.
That's tight. Were you doing a lot of commercial work at this time, working, you know?
Nope. This was during this period, like the first few years. No, I wasn't. This was I was working on an ambulance, just like, yeah, doing like ambulance stuff.
Really? You were an ambulance? You're an ambulance? Were you
man.
A driver?
Yeah, yep.
Holy
also,
shit. That's
just
wild.
a driver.
Yeah,
What
I
a
was
story, right?
and then I was like just doing this shit like in the back of an ambulance on my cell phone.
Yes.
That's
That's a fucking great story, man.
That is so wild.
Huh.
Do you guys know what's her name? Her government name is Sarah. I'm trying to think of her name online. She does all the sparkles, like the cat with the sparkles.
Oh, Sarah Steckel?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I was one of the first people to post her online. She was in school for dentistry. She legit like hit me up, and shout out to Sarah. Like if you ever see this, she's such a sweet and beautiful person, really kind soul. She straight hit me in DMs like, hey, you know, I don't know if this is any good, but I would really be honored if you would just like post this. You know, I love the Yes Universe, and like I've been following you guys, and it really mean a lot to me. I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll post it. This is great. A few years later, the dental student is now, you know, one of the biggest artists on Instagram, doing her thing. Totally followed her joy, followed her bliss, stuck with her dream of creativity. Although her parents are like, look, you need to forget this art crap and just go and finish your schooling. And she moved forward. So I love stories like yours and like hers, where you guys, you know, still do what you need to do to pay the bills, but follow your passion and stick with your craft and keep refining your craft and refining, you know, yourself, understanding business, understanding how to get yourself out there. It's wonderful. It really brings a lot of joy to hear that.
It took years for me to be able to like actually ditch my jobs and just do this full time, where I was making enough money to do it. Yeah, so you definitely gotta really want to do it, because there's going to be times when you're not making any money doing this and people are telling you to do other things. So it's like, you got to really just want to be an artist to continue doing it despite any hardships that you're going through.
Was there a particular job or maybe like an amount of money, a check that you received and you were like, all right, I can walk away now?
I mean, all the freelance work is pretty similar payment wise, but I mean, definitely like I've been doing this now solo without, you know, just art 100% for like three or 4 years. So yeah, I mean, I get enough work where I can, survive and live. But definitely, like, I'm making more on the blockchain than I was before. And me and Justin have had this conversation. Like, I've been able to do a lot more things now since coming here.
I love hearing that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the purpose of Coldy and I even getting together, bringing our passions, our expertise, our professional skills, because we want that for artists. I mean, it's again, say again.
I'll also say, like, there's no way I would have been able to, like, do this part without Justin's help, of course. Like, all the SSX Blau stuff and just, like, coming to the blockchain in the first place was pretty much his idea.
Well, I'll tell the backstory, and then I actually may have to hop because I have a phone call in 2 minutes. But I'd love to tell the story of how this kind of began on a personal level. But Mike and I both, when COVID hit, my primary source of income is live performances. That's shut down, as you mentioned before, Lady Faye. And is it Lady Faye? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
It's Lady Fee, Lady Phoenix.
Now I should have known that, Lady Phoenix.
No, it's okay. I mean, you know what? People who have very thick accents call me. So my name is Lady Phoenix, but people with very thick accents call me Lady Penis. So it's totally. They say penis. They say Phoenix, and it sounds like penis, honestly. But they say Phoenix, and it's like, okay, just call me Lady P.
Yeah, Lady P. But anyway, yeah. Before I run, I'll tell this pretty quickly. But Mike and I, COVID obviously rocked our worlds. Music. Musicians weren't spending as much on freelance work because touring was shut down. And Mike kind of called me, knowing that I had a background in finance. I studied finance. That's why I've always been excited about fintech and distributed ledger tech, and I've been kind of active in the space for 6 years. But never imagined myself issuing art because I'm not a visual artist. And so when Mike kind of came to me and he was like, yo, do you have any ideas on, what we could be doing in this environment? And then it kind of clicked for me. I was like, dude, we should make some digital art together. We should create an alias and like start a whole new project and put a lot of effort in. And Mike was like, oh, dude, I'm on board. And after our first drop was pretty successful, we just became even more motivated and started, putting hours and hours and hours a week into this stuff. And it's just been amazing to see the support of the community since we started. It's only been a little bit over 2 months. We've been doing it for like 4, but we've only dropped for 2, a little over 2. And it all started with just, COVID giving us a new perspective and wanting to try something new. And here we are. So that's kind of how it all started, as like a way to monetize, our creativity in an environment that it's otherwise challenging to. And so, that's just like you guys are spreading the good word and, showing other artists that they can do the same. It's really powerful because creators haven't been compensated properly for the effort that they put in. And it's just really exciting to see this new world where people are willing to show the creator how much value they actually create beyond, just the creation itself. And it's been awesome.
Those are all really good points. I love that you said that because Coldy and I often talk about that, like how are we going to free up the artists? And, by freeing up the artists, we essentially allow others who are inspired by those same artists to find freedom and liberation within themselves. So COVID has been a blessing in disguise, I think, for many people. And, RIP for those who lost their life, and, any good merits I've generated, I'd like to share those, energetically with others that have had a hard time. But myself, I've been very blessed in the COVID time. Because you are forced to look at things differently. And as creatives, it really has been such an incredible opportunity to say, okay, this Rubik's Cube keeps showing me these same colors. Can I flip it and get other colors and other possibilities from this cube or from this situation? Thank you for that, Justin. I appreciate it. And I know you do have to go soon. We look forward to having you back.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back. And Goldie, great to meet you. Lady Fee, great to meet you as well. And we'll stay in touch. This was awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Justin. Good meeting. Stay in touch.
See you soon.
Bye. So Mike, these 2 pieces with the open slime heads, those are the pieces, especially the bluish one, that I saw it and said, okay, he's found his thing.
Yeah, for sure. This was 3D stuff, and this is actually the one you're referencing is kind of what propelled my popularity on Instagram was because there was this account called Love Watts.
Yep.
I'm sure you're familiar with them.
Yep.
They posted that, and like within a day, I got like over 10,000 followers. It was nuts. And then from that point forward, it kind of just my account started to kind of explode until lately. I like lost like over 10,000 followers in the last like month or so, but that's cool.
You think it's because the not safe for work posts?
I think it's a mixture of me not posting as much, and yeah, probably probably offending some people.
Well, the algorithm is really weird on Instagram. I think sometimes when artists who've been successful and popular on Instagram get over to like the NFT space, they kind of treat the platform, the NFT platforms, like Instagram, thinking they can just post every day and there's going to be someone on there to buy for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And it's like, this is not how it goes. Like,
exactly. Really, yeah. I've been trying really hard not to release much Slime Sunday stuff. As I was saying, my main focus now is kind of SSX Blau and propelling that forward.
Yeah. And putting those 200 hours into it and making something that people want to collect and want to invest in, right? So that it has value and you have a legacy.
Yeah.
I think that there are platforms, maybe Rareable is one of them, where if you wanted to have an alias and put out your B-sides, right? You could, just be in the practice of putting out B-sides all the time and getting a little bit of that kind of waterfall money, or mailbox money, as some people call it, where you just want to sell this thing for $25, $50, $100, whatever it is, and people are stoked to grab it because it's great art. You don't necessarily have to attach your primary brand to it.
Absolutely. But yeah, like when you said kind of this is the wall where I was starting to develop my style, you're completely right. I started to focus more on people, faces, kind of like freaking people out if I could. It's good to get a reaction from people. So I try to do that with some of my art, is to get reactions out of people, whether positive or negative. I enjoy both. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to say who cares if people don't like it, but like, who cares?
Yeah,
if people don't like it, it's on them. I mean, there are people who don't like chocolate. Chocolate is great.
I've actually had such great experiences with that same exact thing where, I'm in a small town in Northern California, and I have to say it, not to offend anybody, but I call it the menopausal art capital of the world, where there's lots of watercolors and landscapes and things that don't fit in Coldy's toolbox. So, I got offered to do an art walk show. So yeah, I'll do the art walk. So I threw up my stuff, and I was in a coffee shop, and I have 3D lenticulars and UFOs flying around and like crazy shit, right? And this old woman in her 80s, she was out on the town to check out some art that she likes. And she walked in and she could not handle my shit. And she made it a point to come up to me and say, I don't like your art.
That's awesome.
And it was so great. And I had the biggest smile on my face. I said, really? And she's like, yes. Like, she wanted to like tear me down. I said, I can't believe that you had such an emotion while looking at my art. And I was so full of joy. And I could feel her soul kind of quiver for a second. And then I was like, that's the point of art. Like, that's what we did this together. And she was like, oh my, like, she just like turned around and laughed. But it was just like, I felt this visceral emotion out of this woman that like made that whole event worth it, because I got that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Got that little thing. So I feel you on that.
Yeah. Any reaction, man, good or negative. I appreciate them all.
What were you listening to, Coldy? By the way, we're going to get tons of quote fan mail, aka hate mail, because you said the menopausal capital of the world.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll put it on the map. Maybe we'll sell some art around here. That's fine.
Yes, find that silver lining. You make it positive. Mike, what were you listening to when you started discovering more faces or kind of making these weird portraits? Do you remember the music you were listening to?
This was I honestly don't remember during this period. I could definitely tell you we're getting close to when I started to really get into Flume. when he was like just kind of entering the electronic space. Probably pretty close to that era, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to go back and think of what I was like heavily listening to during these times because I was so focused on creating. Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of life lessons you were learning at that time?
Yeah, I mean, the smoke ones were very personal. Like I had like a major depression that I was going through, so those were kind of representations of that, kind of like your head just exploding.
Yeah.
Same thing with like covering up a lot of faces and stuff. I don't know if there's some psychological meaning behind that, but probably. Yeah, I mean, I definitely knew at this point that I wanted to continue creating art for as long as I lived. So at this point, I was definitely becoming more involved and more obsessed with creating. So yeah.
How did you move through that depressive state? Was art something you used to help you, or did it distract you? What kinds of
Yeah,
self?
it was more of a helpful distraction, but at the same time, it was also beneficial. Like it was a good way to kind of get your thoughts out and just do something else to get your mind off of things. And that definitely helped me through a lot of tough times, was creating art continuously.
I love that. Do we have one more wall, Coldy?
Yeah, we do.
Is this the last wall? Or do we have one more?
Yeah.
We have technically there's 3 more.
Oh, there's 3 more. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So then this is kind of when I just started really kind of developing the style that was recognizable for me. And I kind of got up to this point where I started creating all this stuff in this specific style. And there was a lot of people kind of emulating my style, which kind of, annoyed me a little bit. So after this style, like I started moving on to something else just because I kind of wanted to get out of that, I guess, and create a new style for myself. So yeah, that's where we kind of got to here.
Yeah, this slime was very short-lived right here, but it was popular. The melting faces, you were for a while. People were into it. You had one of a girl in a jean jacket with that rainbow slime or melt.
Yeah,
that one was super popular. I love that one too.
Yeah, the face warps. Yeah, those were fun. Super fun.
What were you going through at this time of the bizarre, gross, and sexual? What was that? What were you going through at that time?
I don't know, honestly. I think I was probably I definitely wasn't as depressed as I was in the last ones, but definitely maybe coming out of it a little bit. Yeah, I don't know.
Was there anything in particular that you incorporated into your daily routine or into your life in general that helped you move past the depression? Any tips you can share with everyone out there?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that like finding something that you really enjoy doing and focusing on it will for sure help you. And in my case, it was art. So I think that probably that having the depression was kind of a blessing in disguise, because that's kind of how I treated it for myself, was just constantly creating, so.
And how about the next wall, Colty? Oh yeah, this is where we turned it all the way up.
Yeah, we turned it up to level like 15.
This is when the page turned right here.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this was definitely a big highlight of my career, was getting on these magazines.
Yeah.
I think I've done so far maybe 6 or 7 for Penthouse covers.
Congratulations.
Thanks. That's awesome. I mean, to get the magazine, hold it in your hands and see the artwork on it is a different experience. So, I mean, that's definitely one of my biggest highlights, which is why I kind of threw these up so people can see, like, it takes a while. Like you kind of have to do a lot to get up to this point. Like I said, I was doing this for like 10 years. So yeah, only recently did I actually start to get these opportunities.
And can you share with your go ahead, Colty.
I was gonna say now, are these Christmas gifts for family? Is this like your family gets Penthouse now?
Dude, they do actually. Dude, they actually go out and buy it themselves because
I love it.
they're just as stoked as I am. But yeah,
That's so cool.
What have you turned down that you thought you might regret later?
Like what job opportunities?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I turn down like 90% of the stuff that comes in now.
Do you kick it over to a friend, or do you just straight up tell?
I usually every once in a while I'll give it off to somebody else, but I mean I've come to absolutely hate freelancing, so I try not to take on any more jobs.
Gotcha.
I just take the ones that are like, financially a lot higher than 90. Probably all those 90% jobs are like cheap gigs or something. So yeah.
And what do you consider cheap? Because what might be cheap for you at this point is like a dream come true for others. So what is considered cheap for you now?
Like money wise?
Yeah.
Probably like $500 per I think that's probably the going rate in the music industry. Is you'll find that most people will shell out like $500 for an album artwork.
Wow. And these are big artists?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, for like album covers and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, every time I get hit up by a record label, that's kind of the number that they'll throw at me. So probably like $500 to $700, $800 range for this stuff. Yeah.
You should definitely be getting more. Yeah. I'll just leave that there. We could talk offline though. That's extremely low.
Yeah.
Not extreme, but for a person with, for a person of your level with experience.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Is like that's why I probably would just never take those jobs, unless.
No, I mean if it's for example, I was working with an artist, my day job, working with an artist. We had the record company called and said, hey, we want your artist to do this. We negotiated on the price of the album, cover artwork. It was all good. My artist at the time was being very a diva, male diva, and long story short, the album cover that he was being a diva about ended up winning a Grammy, and it just didn't go all the way through because he had negative thoughts about doing album artwork for other artists, because he was an artist, visual artist, and he felt like he should be focusing only on his art. So I would say, like, don't say no to everything. Set your price, set your rate, and your rate is your rate. If they can't pay it, then of course it's no. But if they choose to pay it and it's the right project, then I would say yes to that. Yeah, I would say yes to doing the album artwork for an artist that won a Grammy. That would be pretty epic.
Oh, absolutely. I got close on this. I mean, I've done work for a few.
I'm gonna put myself on mute. I got to take a phone call, but okay. I'm gonna leave this going. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Coldy. Tell us about this. So now you're fully in, Penthouse. You've got some fame for that. Friends are texting you, being like, "Holy shit, dude! I can't believe you just did the cover of Penthouse. What is going on?"
Yeah. I mean, this is where we are now. This is like the last wall, kind of the style that I've been doing for the last year, and it was kind of just a way to exploit the Instagram algorithm. So I noticed early on that Instagram enjoys things that are sexual as much as they don't want to admit it. So I kind of just use the algorithm so if they see any nudity, they're supposed to like delete it or whatever, but I just go around that by covering things up and confusing the algorithm and trying to get away with the most sexual content possible. And it's kind of just like a fun game that I was playing with the algorithm to see how far I could take it before they realized what I was doing.
Have they realized it? Have they caught up to you?
Yeah, they caught on recently. They deleted like over 30 images. So.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm going to be releasing those images on the blockchain. All the ones that got banned from the internet.
That could be a neat little collection, though. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
not safe for work by not safe for Instagram by Slime Sunday collection
Absolutely.
blockchain. I'd buy one of those. Not safe for Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, wow, that's wild. So give me your kind of like top 3 lessons that you've learned from this journey, from, you know, driving an ambulance, right? Being depressed, kind of knowing that your desires and your wishes are for more, especially creatively, but you know, you got to pay the bills. So you're doing what you got to do. And you know, inadvertently like saving people's lives. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, yay for you for doing that. What was your state of mind like? What were you telling yourself daily as you were making this artwork on the phone? What were you saying to yourself about your life and your practice that helped you move through that period in time?
Well, I think kind of at the beginning when it just started out, it was kind of like I always wanted to be an artist, but I never really took the time and energy to do it. So when I was first starting out, it was kind of an experiment, just messing around. And that was in my late teens, early 20s. And then I went to college, got my degree, worked on an ambulance because I was gonna actually go back to school to become a physician's assistant. So I was doing like a bunch of work, like college work, was really unhappy with that. And I mean, it took a while for me to realize that, and obviously there was a lot of people around me at the same time telling me that this wasn't going to work, like you can't be an artist. You're never going to make enough money or whatever. But for me, like money was never important. I just wanted to be happy throughout the day. And this was the only thing that I found that I actually enjoyed doing and made me happy was creating art. So it was really pointless for me to just do something for the purpose of making money, like this is more art for me is more about just getting through the day and creating things. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of a form of therapy. So in its own sense. And you also like, you have to really want to do it to be an artist. Like you can't just because you have a laptop and Photoshop, like doesn't mean you're an artist. Like you got to put in the time, like Caldy was saying, you have to do it for years. Yeah. And I mean, gotta love what you're doing.
What if you love what you're doing, but you're still like kind of depressed and not getting the results? What would you say, like kind of big brother advice to the artists out there?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be tough. Like I went through that for years where I didn't think it was going to work, and then eventually it did. So I'd say just keep pushing, like continuously just pushing until you get there. Because if you give up now, you'll never know. But if you just keep grinding and creating, then eventually things might play out well for you. So that's what I would say. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the future, but I mean, if you really love what you're doing and you love making art, then why not just keep doing it despite any negative things you might be feeling about it.
I think especially because people, if you've established for yourself, like this is what you love and it makes you happy. And like you said, it's your form of like therapy or self-care. Then it doesn't really matter what people are saying about your ability to be successful or not, because technically you've already achieved a type of success in that it makes you personally happy,
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Right on. Mike, it's been a real joy talking to you. Thank you so much for stopping by and chatting us up and sharing your drops with us. I'm really excited for tomorrow, Maker's Place. What time is the drop happening?
I believe 3:30 Pacific time. I'll have to double check on that, but I'm pretty confident that's the time.
Okay, cool. So 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Is there anything that we haven't chatted about that you want to discuss?
No, I think we hit everything on the head. So
yeah.
Thanks for having me. And
yeah, definitely. This has been great. Really inspirational. I'm so proud to see, where you've come and your process. And, anytime you want to talk about these deals too, hit me up. Never take $500 to do an album cover, especially a guy like you.
Don't worry, I don't do that anymore. I'd say like at the beginning of the career,
Ever.
my career, I would have done that all day, but now,
Listen,
no chance.
if the blockchain slows down, you might, if the NFT space slows down, you might change your mind and think, well, it's Jay-Z. He is asking me to do this album, so I might do it, but I'm not doing it for $500.
Yeah, no chance.
Well, I think Jay-Z would pay more than that, but yeah, from what I hear, he's a real stand-up dude. So yeah, thanks for chatting us up. Really love everything you're up to, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for having me.
Right on. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Later.
Coming up next, guys, we have Sutu joining us in the metaverse to talk about all kinds of neat things. He has a collab he's done with deadmau5. deadmau5 has joined the NFT space. It's a hot time right now for music artists teaming up with visual artists in the metaverse, on the blockchain. Lots of really exciting things to come. We'll see you at 3